Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Jake Rouse Show. My guest today is Darlene Feeney. Darlene and I first met when I was a wee lad, like third, fourth, fifth grade at St. Luke's. Her youngest brother, Jim, was and is one of my closest friends. Darlene ultimately became a teacher at St. Luke's while I was a student there. She went from teaching in the private Catholic school system into teaching in the Erie's public schools. She was a basketball coach for years, and she ultimately ran for and won a seat on the Erie School Board. Darlene is a professional educator who has seen it from all angles. She is also a very thoughtful individual when it comes to critical issues facing our community and our country. My conversations have evolved a good bit since she taught me in 8th grade, and it is always enjoyable to spend time with her. And today's conversation regarding the state of public education will definitely be no different. I hope you enjoy. Let's go. Dar, welcome to the Jake Rouse Show.
Jake, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. This is awesome. Before we get into the quote that I sent to you that you're going to react to, I had written down here that you have an FCC broadcaster license. How did you go about getting that?
This is true. I was at Edinburgh University, and I needed to take an elective, and so I decided that I was going to take Radio 1.
And so part of the elective is at the end you got a broadcaster's license?
You get a broadcaster's license, and it's so different than it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had towers. I had to do readings on the towers. I had to make sure my frequencies and everything were right. There were a couple times when people called me and said, "Hey, just so you know, you're off the air."
Oh,
dang. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. We had to put a cart in every hour. It was a cart. A cart. It was like a 8-track cart. That
like a cartridge.
Like a cartridge, yes.
Okay.
Because you would have to do, every hour, you would have to do certain commercials.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't know if you still have to do that nowadays or not, but yeah. So there was that. We had a board that was just amazing. It was huge. It was probably 20 by maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
And very sensitive, very touch sensitive. So if you weren't careful when you were maneuvering around to grab an album or
Sure.
to grab we didn't have CDs back then, so we had the 8-track carts.
Yep.
You could sensitively touch the board and screw everything up. So it was a very delicate operation back then. But it was fun.
Did you have a radio show?
I did on WFSE.
And that was at the
it
Borough?
It was at the Borough, yeah. And it was on Sunday nights. And I did jazz, a little bit of funk.
Of course, because junk and the funk and jazz go together.
It's just my background from my brothers. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was the name of your show Funk and Jazz?
No, it was jazz. It was just jazz. Cool jazz with Darlene. Yeah.
Nice. Matt Rao was a DJ.
I knew that.
He was a DJ at Gannon's WERG, and then but his big thing was he was at WMDI. Do you remember WMDI?
I don't. Where was that?
It was out in McCain.
Oh, John worked there, I think.
It became, I believe, Rocket. But at the time, it was kind of like this, I wouldn't say almost pirate radio type of thing, but they were big on, playing classic rock and that. And so it was kind of it was out in that snow belty area. So it wasn't McCain. I just don't know. It was Turkey Hill is what I remember. And so you drive out there, and he found out that he got let go because somebody called in and told him how much they loved his show and they would miss him. And he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, my goodness.
So I guess
terrible.
He started playing his tunes, and I think the way he ended his tenure at WMDI is he put on whatever a long record rock and roll song, like Free Bird or something.
Yeah.
And took off. It was like, well.
That sounds like Matt.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It
I
does.
love it. I love that story. Yeah.
I love it, though. An FCC, you got to find that license.
I do have to find it. I mean, I know it's upstairs in the attic somewhere. I know that my mom wouldn't have thrown it out because it was important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I sent you the following quote. "Education is the ability to listen to almost anything without losing your temper or your self-confidence." That's from Robert Frost. Tell me about that. What do you think of when I read that to you?
So when I read the quote, I was like, this is really good advice for all teachers, and it's good advice for all educators. I don't know if I would think that it's education for a young child developmentally, but for us as adults, I think it's incredibly important. Think about it. Anytime you've had a conversation with somebody where they're giving you an argumentative point of view, and you don't agree with it, do you listen to them and really listen to why they have that viewpoint? Or are you, while they're talking, thinking about your argument that you're going to come back with? And when that happens, you don't learn anything. And you're not even thinking analytically. You're not thinking about what questions you might have for that individual to help you better understand why they believe what they do. And so you can't learn.
That's right.
And, Viktor Frankl, he had a quote that said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, you have ability to choose your response. And that response can be either your freedom, or it could be detrimental to you, right?
Yep.
I mean, how many times have we responded when we wish we had held back on those words? So yeah.
The Frankl quote is one of the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It is.
Between stimulus and response lies your opportunity to choose. And there is a lot of not listening to understand, but listening to respond that goes on today. And so it is really interesting because I think more than any time in our history, people are on the almost permanent offensive.
I agree.
And so in turn, stopping to just saying, tell me more about that, because, and I think we all have to just pause a little bit, saying, tell me more why you think that.
Right. I agree. Why do you think that? And you should be thinking about questions that you can ask them to further understand why
There are trigger words, trigger phrases, trigger subjects that light people up. And I'll give you one just related to our podcast, then we'll get into you. Somebody asked me, you asked me, like, so how'd you get into this? But really, one of the answers that I thought about it, and I'm like, I always loved, as a kid, I always loved interview shows. So I love Johnny Carson, right? I used to stay up and watch Johnny Carson, but I would watch Larry King and saying, this guy's a buffoon. How does he have this job, this great reputation? He was okay. Barbara Walters, right. Charlie Rose, Tom Snyder, Dick Cavett, right? Yep. All of those folks were very interesting. I always found it interesting. I always found the construction of questions interesting. Like, how did they build that question? Right. So, fast forward, I love listening to podcasts because in a lot of cases it's a dialogue between two people and they're going back and forth. I'm intrigued by that. But when I tell people that they're like, what do you listen to? And I say, well, I listen to Joe Rogan's show. As soon as I say that, I am categorized and there's a reaction that I get from people immediately.
That is interesting.
And meanwhile, I'm like, you formed an opinion before you heard the next one, which is, I listen to The Daily from the New York Times, the Ezra Klein Show, Pivot. Right. I listen to Revisionist History. I listen to Talking Pictures. I listen to Smartless. And so, but people formulate a conclusion sometimes. I mean, I've said, like, I heard, I was listening to the Rogan Show and they were talking to someone, and I've had people just, you can tell they've tuned out.
Instead of asking you.
And I'm like, it isn't about Rogan. It was about something I heard there that I wanted to share with you and see what you thought. They were dismissing the entirety of that, anything I could possibly say after that. Right. That's so disappointing.
It is very disappointing, and that's where we're at today. And unfortunately, that's where media has taken us. So people will say to me, you will listen to Fox? And I said, yeah, I want to know what the other side's saying.
Sure.
Aren't you curious as to why people think the way they do? I am. I want to know. I don't want to just dismiss them and say they're loons, they're crazy, they're uninformed. No, like, what is it that they are attracted to in that conversation? What is it that they, feel deep down in their soul that, speaks to them? Yeah. Got to know.
Yeah. I've said before in this show that there was a quote by William Raspberry. It was an article in the Erie paper. It was actually on Christmas Eve in '97. And but one of the things he said is that one of the most troubling challenges we have today, and this was in '97, is that neither side has a corner on the truth, and the simple inability for us to give credit to the other side, like that's a good idea, or I like that thought, at some point, versus just blindly writing it off. He goes, is really challenging. Now that's 30 years ago.
Right.
And he was saying that. And you and I both know it is radically worse today than it was 30 years ago.
We're entrenched in this right now.
Yeah. It's going to take us a decade to deprogram. It really is. It's not going to happen overnight.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about sorry, we got off. Sorry, folks.
That's okay.
We got deep right away. That's what happens. Let's talk about Dar's journey. And your maiden name was Webb, the Webb family, the Rao family, both St. Luke's families.
Right.
And so many others in the community. So great school, lots of kids there. But take me through. You went. I just kind of like give the Reader's Digest version of your life, if you will, starting at St. Luke's.
My origin story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, again, our families have known each other forever. I think I've known you well, at least since you were 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I went to school with your brother, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
We're very close. And St. Luke's was a great place, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we our families got along. We could go explore in the neighborhood and come home when the streetlights came on at 9:00 at night, and our parents trusted us, and whether they should have or not.
For those who know Erie, we were kind of on the edge of town when St. Luke's was built. That was right next to Mercier's, but that whole area, there wasn't much built, if you will, to the south of 38th Street. That was developing. That's where we grew up.
Right. My father and mom built the first house on the block on 34th Street between Wallace and Parade. Yeah. So we go to St. Luke's, and I'm heavily into basketball. You know that I am passionate about that sport. And then I go on to high school, and I ended up taking a curve ball for most people. I ended up going to St. Benedict Academy. I was supposed to go to Villa all my life, but at the end of the day, I just decided, no. It was actually Debbie Cicini and I. We said, you know what? Let's just break out on our own.
Sure.
So I went to St. Ben's, and that really shaped a lot of who I am today, because those Benedictine nuns, everything's about social advocacy, and so that really did a lot for me as far as...
That's interesting. Let's just go back.
Okay.
First of all, the nickname of the St. Ben, what was your nickname?
Well, we were the Lassies.
The Lassies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So St. Benedict Academy, run by the Benedictines.
Mm-hmm.
For folks who aren't Catholic, and Villa was run by the
Josephites.
The Josephites. So both religious, Catholically, religiously affiliated, but two different orders within, with differing operating systems.
Very much so.
Philosophies.
Very much so. Yeah, it's very different.
That was very interesting that you brought up that they've had a long history of social justice.
Long history of social justice. I actually saw my former classmate Jane Earle last night, and
I didn't know Jane went to St. Ben's.
Yeah, Jane went to St. Ben's too, and we were reminiscing about how when we were in theology class, Sister Mary Lou Kanaki had us making posters, for protests because of the farm workers and Cesar Chavez, and that's the stuff we talked about. And then we were also saying how disappointed she would have been today if she was still living. Thankfully she's not here with us. God rest her soul, because
in light of everything that's happened.
In light of everything that's happened,
come out
about him.
Yes.
Yes. But so that, and then some of the sisters were marching on the steps of the Capitol and were arrested.
Which capital? The
Washington, D.C.
What time frame are we talking?
We're talking 70s.
72, 76, right? You
I was
graduated
there 72, 76. I want to say that they might have done that in the late 60s, which was something we always talked about. These nuns are so cool. They're rebel rousers. They like to demonstrate. So I had that background at St. Ben's. But again, going back to basketball was just a big part of my life. So I'm a senior. I have 2 older brothers, a younger brother. I'm not even thinking about college.
Really?
Right? No, not even thinking about it. Some of my friends were. I didn't feel that I was a good enough student compared to my brothers. And
Well, you were compared to Jim.
don't tell him that.
It's now recorded for history. No,
just kidding.
I
I'm
honestly
sure you are
can't
kidding.
remember if he was a good or bad student. But go ahead.
I don't remember either. I just remember Mark and John were really exceptional students. So
I'm mesmerized that you really weren't thinking about going to college.
No, and again, my mom was. She never went to college.
Yeah.
She saved money to go to college, as a matter of fact, but then she ended up spending it all on clothes. She wanted to be a buyer. She was going to go to IUP, which I thought was very cool.
Like a clothes buyer.
A clothes buyer, yeah.
Neat.
So, it's senior year. It was the first time that girls were allowed to participate in the PIAA playoffs, and I was so stoked. So we went down to Meadville on the bus, and some kids on my team just didn't act appropriately, and I won't get into the details, but anyway, we lost that game. And I was devastated. And after that, I was just kind of walking around the neighborhood, and I saw that the lights were on at St. Luke's gym. So I went into the gym, and there Sue LeFevre was coaching the girls' basketball team. And I just kind of hung around, and she finally said, because I was hanging around so much, she said, "Hey, do you want to help me?" I said, "I'd love to help you." So I started coaching with her, and Sister Bernadette Bell noticed that I was there and was paying attention to how I was interacting with the kids and the students. And she came up to me and she said, "Darlene, what are you going to do after high school?" I said, "Sister, I honestly don't know. I don't have any plans." And she said, "You know what? I really think you'd make an excellent teacher. And we have this program called the Cadet Program." And started explaining it to me, and I went home, and I was just so excited because now I had a pathway, and that's where it all started.
Where was the cadet program was?
It was intense, Jake.
But who was the cadet? I mean, who's running? When you say we have this cadet, was it Sisters of Mercy?
Sisters of Mercy? No, it was the diocese. The diocese. Thank you for clarifying that. The diocese had this program. You could either go to Villa College or you could go to Mercyhurst College. It was 5 intense summers, 2 years of regular college instruction. So I started my summer of my senior, after I graduated, I started college. And then I went that full freshman year, summer, full sophomore year, summer.
Okay.
Yeah. And then would have been my junior year is when I started teaching you knuckleheads.
Oh, all right.
No, I don't mean that. You guys were great.
So we talked about Edinburgh, but you were at Mercyhurst.
I was at Mercyhurst first, yeah.
Okay.
So I was at Mercyhurst, and so
you were in school full time, basically.
Full time
for those first 2 years.
For those first 2 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it was intense.
It really is similar to an apprenticeship.
It is an apprenticeship. It's a perfect apprenticeship. Yeah, and I actually talked about that, which we'll get to in a little bit, when I was on school board, how important I think apprenticeship programs are. So yeah, and in addition to that, every class I took at Mercyhurst, we were required to do a 20-hour practicum in a school. So some of it was at St. Luke's, but I was also in the public schools too. So I spent some time at Wilson, spent some time at Harding, spent some time at Lincoln. So, I mean, the amount of practical experience that I received was tremendous, really tremendous.
So by the time, the hours, so by the time you graduated with a 4-year degree, you were fully immersed in the teaching profession.
Fully immersed, yes. I mean, I ran a classroom by myself for 2 solid years while I was still a college student. I was talking to Sister Patricia
That's
Whalen
pretty wild.
about that. And I don't think you guys really had any
We had no idea.
No.
No idea. You just don't understand time.
No. Yeah.
It's like, Jim's sister's teaching us. Cool.
Yeah, cool. Miss Dar. You wouldn't, wouldn't even call me Miss Webb. I was Miss Dar. Yeah.
That's really wild.
Yeah, that is wild. Although I was not allowed to teach you because you were in Jimmy's class.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You didn't have us officially, right?
I didn't officially have you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you finished, then what was the next step in the process
I
for
never
you?
did that 5th summer. I said, I haven't had a college experience. And that's how I ended up at Edinburgh. I said, I'm going to take a year. My parents said, fine, you take out the loan. So back then, a year at Edinburgh in 1980 the tuition was $2,500. So yeah, took out a loan and went to school for a year there just so that I would have that experience. Ironically, I didn't do my homework. What I didn't find out until I actually signed on the dotted line was that Edinburgh wasn't going to accept 18 of my credits from Mercyhurst. Blew my mind. But they had stricter requirements than Mercyhurst did. So I'm glad I did it. I really am glad I did it. It was a good experience. And then after that, I went to St. Joe's, and I taught at St. Joe's for a couple years, and then got married and started a family. And so I had a second origin story later on in life.
So did you when you started having your family, the teaching went on hold?
Teaching went on hold.
That's amazing.
11 years.
11 years between all of that prep work and schooling and immersion, and then it's
boop. Fortunate for me, I still kept the basketball. So I was always coaching. Jim would come home from work, and I was immediately in my car and heading off to the gym. So I still had what I felt was somewhat of a career, and I was still teaching.
Yes, right.
Right.
So you were coaching at St. Ben's.
I was coaching at St. Ben's, yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
I loved it, yeah. Loved every minute of it.
When you decided to stop coaching, what was the trigger?
So the trigger for me when I decided to stop was that I needed to go back to teaching. I needed to go back to my career. And
your kids were old enough that you felt you could do that.
And I wanted to, yes. So the youngest was in preschool. And so I thought, how am I going to do this now? How am I going to get back into this? I've been out of it for a while. I did apply for a job at St. Luke's again. And God bless her, Marietta Stolsky said, Darlene, I know that you think you want this, but I know you, and you need more. And I said, She goes, your heart is in public education. Your heart has always been in public education. She kind of like pushed me out the door and said, figure it out, in kind way.
Yeah.
But yeah, figure it out. And I so appreciate her doing that. So I ended up getting a graduate assistantship at Mercyhurst, working in the financial aid office for a year, and they paid for my master's degree in special education. And then the second year, I ended up with the opportunity to build the women's basketball program out at Mercyhurst Northeast. Excuse me. Which, again, something that I'm passionate about. So my second year, I was there. And then after that, because I'd gotten my master's degree, earned my master's degree, and in special education, and was dual certified, now I set myself up to be able to get a job in the Erie School District.
All right.
So that's it.
Okay, I want to circle back. I have two. I got to write myself a note.
Okay.
I don't want to pass by your basketball career. What was your best season?
Oh, boy. Probably the last year at St. Ben's. It wouldn't have been my best record, but we went the furthest. We made it to the Western PA finals.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that was exciting. Very exciting. Yeah. And it was the very last year that St. Ben's had a team because they closed the school.
Oh, man. Well, what a great way to go out.
Yeah.
What a great way to go out.
And I also got to do it with my husband. So Jim and I were the coaches together.
That's super.
So, yeah.
Do you hear from any of those players? Have you kept in touch with any of them, or do you just see them periodically?
I see them. Yeah, I see them periodically. I wish we had kept in touch more often, but we didn't. Yeah. And I mean, those girls are in their 50s now, So
talk to me just a little bit about so I know you've had kids and you're at whatever age you're at this point, but those are some the thing that comes to mind is powerful or strong women guiding and influencing you. I mean, Sister Bernadette Bell stepping forward and saying something to you,
Right.
that changes the direction of your whole life.
It does.
But not saying something equally changes the whole direction of your life.
True.
And, equally, Marietta Stalsky kind of, instead of selfishly saying, yeah, come on, we have an open spot, pushes you in a direction that, again, helps you evolve and grow. And so what a powerful thing. And again, people there's two types of listening. Robert Frost's comment here was about, being able to listen to things, but there's equally interacting with someone and seeing who they really are.
Right.
And not projecting onto them something that you think they should be, but really seeing that, seeing who they are and then responding to that. And both of those women did that.
And they did.
And it had a massive impact on you.
Massive impact. And Sister Bernadette did pass last year, but I was able to do some things with her that were really impactful in the community. She started something called Catherine's Club Giving Circle, and so we would give out grants to nonprofits that supported the mission of women and children. So that was something I got to collaborate with her. And actually, Marietta served on that grant committee with me, too. And then Marietta now is sitting on the Catholic School System Board. So she, as a matter of fact, just called me the other day and said, talk to me about sports. Talk to me about basketball. Talk to me about this whole club experience, that's going on. I apologize. And just, I need to pick your brain because I need to understand this because we have to make some policy decisions. So it's great that we still have that interaction.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's got to be 40 plus years later. Right?
Yeah,
and she's still in your life.
She's still in my life. Yeah.
Erie's 2 degrees of separation, right?
It is.
It's not 6, it's 2. So I work now for Greg Rubino, and Marietta Stalsky is...
And
that's Greg's sister.
She didn't know that. She said, I didn't know Jake was working for Greg.
Yeah, that's so wild.
So, yeah.
I love hearing good mentor leadership stories where somebody really helped direct someone. And
right.
I do believe that when that happens and people do that, it's because they are... they're alive and present with those people and really see them for they're vested, right?
They're vested.
They're not trying to take advantage. They're actually have had enough interaction where they can see who that person is and they help move them in that direction.
Exactly.
And sometimes you could say, well, they're never going to listen to me or whatever. It's like, say it.
For sure. And I've done a lot of mentoring with school board directors since leaving the school board. Which has been very gratifying to me, that when I'll be approached by someone who's considering running and then I'll take them under my wing and give them some advice. But it's always, like you said, you're not telling them you have to do this or you're just guiding them and you're giving them good advice and you're nurturing them, genuinely caring for them, right? That they'll be successful.
Sure, absolutely. No agenda involved other than I want you to be successful. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to contribute.
Right.
I love that. So public education, I would venture a guess, having not been in it, but being on the outside, today is a radically different scenario than it was when you started. Is that a true statement, or is it same with different problems or challenges?
There's been so many different challenges that it's hard to digress on that, but it's hard to extrapolate on that. I would say it is dramatically different because family systems are different and students today are different. It's not the same game.
Talk about that, because I think you just articulated it in something that maybe we know, but I wouldn't have answered the same way. But I agree with you.
I think that our students are more isolated today. I think social media has impacted them in a way. Even just having a conversation like you and I are having right now, I don't know that happens a lot with our youth today. They're attached to their devices, and they can become isolated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I think students have changed in that way. I'm concerned for our youth in that respect.
Face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball conversation is an intimate experience.
It is.
I never would have thought that, but when you start to try and have conversations with anyone, you find that it's harder. A lot of people are uncomfortable with a back and forth where there's no devices involved and you're actually looking at one another. A lot of people can't do it.
No.
And I'm saying adults in addition to the kids, but I think the kids are really challenged on that.
They're really challenged on that. And then their family structures have changed quite a bit. When you think about how we were raised or how we grew up, it's a very different ballgame now for our youth.
Meaning more single-parent households?
Single-parent households, multiple households that are figuring out how to coexist, maybe more than one step-parent, maybe 2 or 3 step-parent, several aunts, uncles, grandkids. But unfortunately, I don't think that they're always interacting with each other, right? Mm-hmm. They're just in these little cyclones here and there. And so children could get confused because there might be one set of rules in this house, and there's another set of rules in that house, and then there's another set of rules in school. It can become confusing for them and make it hard for them to adjust to each social situation. So I think I see more unacceptable behavior because there's a lot more outbursts because they're so frustrated, confused.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'm supposed to act or behave. And then there's a lot more anxiety too. And I think you and I would both agree that when you're anxious, it's very hard to learn.
It's hard to do pretty much anything.
Right.
So I know you just talked about the family construct and you talked about kind of the DNA of the student kind of emotionally coming together being radically different than it was, say, in the 1980s.
Right.
And to me, it's like those are in the educational arena, the variables involved, the home environment, then the individual. That's the bureaucracy is always going to be there.
Right.
The politics is
That's
always going to be there.
Right.
The funding challenges, those are always there. But boy, I've said this, and I know this is a terrible thing to say, so to every educator, I apologize. But the educational process, and so I use this trying to explain to people that the raw material that that is walking through the door in a school district today is radically different than the raw material that was 40 years ago.
Right.
Socioeconomically, family stability, nuclear family. All of that is so different. And so to say, well, just educate them the same way,
you can't.
Yeah.
No. But there is one common denominator that I think we often forget about, and that's if you can have that kind of relationship with a student where they trust you and they know that you have their best interests at heart. If you can hone in on that, you can move mountains. And I think sometimes we forget about that. We forget about building the relationships before we actually try to educate them, right? And actually controlling the classroom environment too. They have to be safe in that environment. And so that means that I have to be very good at managing behavior. I have to be good at making sure that I'm meeting the needs of all the students in my classroom. That's important. So you create that climate, you create that relationship, then I truly feel like you can move mountains. I mean, we've gone so far astray in education ever since we started with this No Child Left Behind and test, and now we're teaching to a test, and even kindergarten is dramatically different than it was when you and I were growing up, and I sometimes think we need to go back to that basic. We learned how to share. We learned how to get along and cooperate. We learned how to play. we learned our sounds and we learned our numbers. And but nowadays, we want them to read books, but they don't know how to get along with each other. So I just think sometimes we need to take a step back and look at what was good with what we did before.
But some of the things gosh, I knew this was going to happen, and that is I get an avalanche of
ideas.
Of thoughts in the process. Let's go back to the building trust. Isn't it very possible that a lot of these students come in, and because of the environment that you described, they don't have much trust?
They don't.
Because trust comes usually out of like a consistency of behavior or environment that they can rely on. They trust that environment. My house is safe. My bedroom is safe.
Right.
I can trust that, this person will always be there, and
Right.
that I will. And when that, so it's so much harder. What you said, 100% makes sense. They've got to trust and believe in you, and then you can break through and get
Right.
to them. But I think today's student comes in not nearly as trustworthy.
No, they're come in cynical. Sure.
What was that word?
Cynical.
Oh, cynical. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, they are. They don't trust you.
But how can you be cynical at such a young age? I mean, I get it. I get why they can be, but what a mountain that is to overcome.
Right. And when you think about some of the things so I always go back to what did Piaget say? Because Piaget had stages of learning, and the stage of logical thinking doesn't even click in until you're 6 or 7 years old. So they've had all of these experiences before that, and they can't even put logic to it. Like, why is this happening to me? So they have to be able to trust that someone's going to be here to take care of me. Someone's going to be here to feed me. Someone's going to be, meet my basic needs. And sometimes that's an issue. Basic needs aren't being met.
Yep, 100%.
So.
It's just, there's a great quote, and I don't know it, but it's something like I think it was Maya Angelou who said something to the effect of, a cynical young person is the most devastating thing because they've gone from not knowing anything to not believing anything. So along those lines, cynicism is something should be for adults that have lived in the world and have seen things and kind of said, yeah, that doesn't change. It's just, to hear that kids have a cynical view of things is very, very challenging.
Yes. And then, they also don't feel safe in school. So you've got to find a way for them to feel safe, because you can't learn if you're not feeling safe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Let me ask you something, and we're going to cross over here between both kind of being on a school board, a member, and being a teacher. Okay. So I want to give you my operating philosophy. I'm pro-teacher. Okay. I'm not pro-parent, and meaning, and I have very definitive. So you can talk me off these ledges, but my feeling is that a few things. So since I have a former school board member. In any class, and some people say, well, you can't apply this. It's not a classical business model, but this is a human resource managerial model. I think the principles of the school are exceptionally important to the performance of the teachers in the school, and and being when you are a principal of a school, you have to be a master of human resource management. Getting a principal certificate, in my mind, doesn't mean shit. I mean, it checks a certain box.
Right.
But the ability, and so therefore you have to be the advocate for your team within, right?
You
do.
That
from up above, they're like, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, I got it. And so continual education from a managerial standpoint of human beings, professionals, teachers, is something that they must and continually refine. And you got to get the right people in those positions.
You do.
Right?
Right.
And so I have always been, and so going back to trust, the teachers have to trust that principal's got their back.
Absolutely.
And if that breaks down and they start to capitulate on behalf of the parents who come in pissed and bitching and complaining, the shooting match starts. I mean, the whole game, the whole Jenga board starts to get a little bit awry. And so over time, having known so many teachers and talked to them, it's kind of like their experience is great when they have a great principal. And in many cases when it's like, allow me to educate, allow me to do it and have my back.
Right.
And it seems as though, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it goes in waves where sometimes there's.
Yes, it does, and it's a paradigm shift, because if you trust your supervisor and you know that they have your back, then you can safely do your job without worrying about a lot of recourse, as long as you're being professional and doing the best that you possibly can. But when you realize that the parents now are controlling this building, influencing, but sometimes it feels like they have control because it's been given to them by the administrator. And that's when things start to fall apart. When an administrator is backed up against the wall by parents and they start to side with the parents more often than they do with their staff, that's not a functional school, in my opinion.
And I want to go back to the training and the management, and I have nobody in particular in mind.
Right.
I'm saying I've dealt with disgruntled citizens, and when somebody is pissed, and now you add in their child to the mix, this is a highly volatile situation for anyone to deal with. If you are not equipped to deal with it, the easiest thing to do is to capitulate, to kind of diffuse the situation.
Right.
And you're not doing it for any other reason other than, I got to get out of this.
Got to get out of this.
And I don't see a pathway to get out of it other than, and so all of that's a highly complex human resource management issue that you're not, I repeat, not experiencing at Erie Insurance. I'm just saying, like someone who's a manager at Erie Insurance, who is dealing with, they are not having disgruntled customers. They might have, coming in with a bill and demanding to see. I mean, it's
right, but they're not having a very angry parent that facing forward and just yelling and screaming because they're passionate about their child.
Have you had a parent in your face ever screaming and yelling at you?
Yeah, I've had parents scream and yell at me. It's not pleasant. No, not at all. I've been in situations where a parent has demanded that I not discipline their child, and that
demanded,
and with a principal sitting right next to me, and saying that if my child needs to be corrected, I mean, just correction is what was put forward. I needed to call, and that they would handle it. And my principal did not respond. She stiffened like a board, and I knew what her guttural reaction was to it, but she just let it go. And that was disappointing for me at that moment. But then I was able to go back, and again, it goes back to your quote in the beginning, which I love. I was able to go back and have a conversation with her as to why did this happen. Explain to me.
To the parent or to
my administrator.
Yeah.
I know why the parent did what they did. Explain this to me, because we need to continue to have a good, positive relationship. And right now I'm feeling as though I'm not being supported. Yeah. But yeah, no, I have had that. I've had parents call and complain and yell and scream at me about the way I'm teaching something. It's like, well, I learned it this way in school. Why aren't you teaching it this way? And I will say, well, there's more than one way to solve a problem. And it's important for your child to learn multiple ways to solve a problem. But yeah, parents can get real passionate for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
They don't see clearly when their children are involved. And again, I'm not under, when confronted with that, you can't explain to a student, right, who's gone through school and been taught that you have to actually live it.
Right.
To be prepared for the raw intensity of the emotion of that situation.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a student teacher and you get to experience that kind of indirectly, it will have a very helpful impact
it will.
on you.
And conversely, if the student really cares about you and their parents upset, chances are the student's going to come to your defense and say, no, Mrs. Feeney really is a great teacher, and, I trust her, and I understand why she's teaching me this way, or I understand why we had to have this consequence, So again, it goes back to what I said in the very beginning. If you can build those relationships and those trusts, even if you have an angry parent coming in, if the kid likes you, they don't want the parent yelling at you, So yeah, that's good. I used to start class every day. I don't know when I learned this. I learned it at a conference. Maybe my last 5 years, I would start every class with, "It's great to see you today, boys and girls." Simple words. And after saying it, maybe for 2, 3, 4 weeks, all of a sudden one day the class in unison said, "It's great to see you too, Mrs. Feeney." And
Nice.
I was like, wow, this is what you want.
What school were you at the longest?
I was at Jefferson the longest. Yeah.
That's where I went to kindergarten.
Yeah, me too.
All
yeah.
right.
Nice, convenient.
So you, do you miss teaching?
I do.
Today, do you miss teaching?
Well, no, I don't think so. When I talk to my former colleagues, no, I don't think I miss it. I don't think I'd be as successful.
Yeah. So with that said, you make a decision to run for office.
I did.
Okay. That's a big deal. And tell me a little bit about that process and what it was like to knock on doors and ask people to vote for you.
Okay, so first we'll go back to the process, and you brought it up when you brought up Mitch Albom and the four agreements, right? Did you bring that up?
No, but thank you. It sounded very intelligent.
I thought you did. I thought you brought that up. So
Of
one
course.
of the 4 agreements was to be impeccable with your word,
Mm-hmm.
right? There were many times when I was teaching that I would say, "That's it. When I retire, I'm running for school board." So that was in my head. I retired earlier than I wanted to. We all received an email from Jay Badams in September of 2015 that said, "We don't know if we're going to make payroll next month." And that was a sock in the gut,
Sure.
right?
Nice management.
Yeah, I had, lost my mom in 2014, lost my dear friend Julie in 2014. Jim was living in Indiana and working in Kentucky because life had thrown some curveballs at us. And so he was down there working for a company called Buckman Laboratories. And our youngest was expecting our first grandchild and was living in Raleigh, North Carolina, where she knew no one. And we get this letter. I said to Jim, I called him up. I said, "Can I retire? Because I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm going to be a very angry person, and the kids don't deserve an angry teacher." So, that was it. I literally went in that week and retired, which was, and I had plans for what I was going to do when I retired, and one of them was, you're going to continue to serve the school district because you anticipated 25 years and you've only done 20, and so you need to get back
Good for you.
in there. So, and also I was upset about the financial problems.
Sure.
I was very upset about it. That how could this have happened to us? So, yeah.
And so you decide to run for office, and you get elected. Did the process of running, did you enjoy it? Did you get energized through that?
I did not. I did not enjoy so much knocking on doors and pitching myself. That was very uncomfortable. That's one of the most uncomfortable things I think I've ever done.
I've done it once.
Have you?
I ran for student government president at Gannon, and I won. But I remember that I could not. The only way it made sense to me when I was talking to I'd get into a dorm, and I'm my friends get me in residence life, and I can talk to, at a floor meeting to 40 or 50 guys or gals. The only way it made sense to me was that I emphasized it's really important that you get out and vote. So whether you vote for me or not, I really appreciate your vote, but please vote in the election, right?
There you go.
But
yeah.
I hate it. I mean, it was just so abnormal very
abnormal. And so that's why
I'm great. This is why I'm
yeah.
great.
This is why I'm great. This is why you should vote for me. This is what I intend to do. And then you get into the position, you realize that you don't have as much control or ability to change things and move mountains as you wished you could, or as you promised even.
Sure. There is a very steep educational curve, and I give, there's some grace that you have to give that, like, hey, there's rules and regulations that you just don't know and understand how the money flows, and past commitments that were made that you have to honor that were not your decision, but you know what?
You have to honor them.
You have to honor it. There's some legal or financial constraints or both.
And then the aha moment of, oh, I have ideas. I know what I want to accomplish. I have to convince 8 more people to think like I do. And again, you come across some of those people that are sitting there listening to your argument, and all they're listening to is the thought in their head of their counter argument. They're really not listening to the points that you're making, or really listening and educating themselves on your viewpoint. And then that becomes a challenge too, because we're all stuck. Yeah, I have my mind made up. You have your mind made up. We're not moving, right?
Did you think that I've observed over the years in Erie that people learn how to be a school board member by watching other school board members? And so sometimes the historic conflict, and I'm saying that goes for city council, county council.
Right.
You believe that your role as a city council person is to challenge the mayor. You believe your role as a school board member is to challenge, the superintendent. Or, to argue with this person because you're from this particular party, so you should go. Did you find any of that? Did you feel that there were some people kind of almost stereotypically operating in a line that you're like, okay, and then that helped you understand how to work with them or deal with them?
It does help you learn how to work with them, for sure, because then you have to go back and you have to find the information that is going to convince them to change their minds. You're going to have to go back and really do your research, and you're going to have to go back and develop a relationship with them so that they're even going to begin to listen to you. And what I didn't realize was that you do have to support the superintendent. It goes back to the same conversation we had about being a teacher and a principal and having that positive, supportive relationship. The superintendent needs to know that the board, for the most part, is supporting them. Your number one job is to evaluate them, hire a new superintendent when needed.
But that means that they need to make compelling arguments to you for what they want to do.
They do.
And if they don't have that information, then it's you need to keep pressing them, like you haven't sold me yet. I don't have what I need here.
Right. I don't have what I need here. You have to convince me. I don't understand why you're making this recommendation. So, but I found a lot of the board directors, yes. If you're a Republican, you're thinking one way, and if you're a Democrat, you're thinking another way. So especially with budgets, right? So
I get that. I get the big budget, and so let me share my cards with you.
Okay.
Worked in economic development my whole career.
Right.
The single most important economic development variable facing the city of Erie is the Erie School District. In the absence of it elevating its performance, you will not get people living in the city, and you need people living in the city to make the financials work for the city. As it loses population, it is a massively devastating blow to operating the city.
100%.
You need higher home ownership rates, and you need more bodies living in the city. And those two things have gone in the wrong direction. And so to me, people love the certain neighborhoods in the city. They would move into the city because they want to be closer to the amenities. But as soon as they have kids, they have a choice they've got to make. And they say, am I going to send my kids to the Erie Public Schools, or am I going to, add another 5 minutes to my commute and live in another suburb? So to me,
right.
The thing that concerns me is that there has been a disassociation from, I believe, the business community, other elected officials. Like, there is a disassociation, like, that's not our problem. And they don't see the connection between the performance of the Erie School District. Now, I don't know if they've gotten the Heisman from the school board or from others saying, hey, we got this, stay out of our business.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, and now having Daria, a former school board member,
Right.
that relationship has, I mean, to me, there's just this symbiotic interconnectivity. It is the largest school district, one of the largest in the entire state. Right. It is our future workforce.
It is.
Right? It can be a jewel that attracts people to live in the city, or it can be a repellent that pushes people away.
100%.
And so...
And then that's a struggle. And I think that's one of the things that I always appreciated about you, Jake, when I was on the board, was that, with the Perkins grant money, we have to go through a pretty extensive process, and we do need to bring in the community stakeholders, and they do need to help evaluate that program. And you would come to those meetings.
Yeah, for the vote tech stuff, for the
vote tech
vocational
stuff, for the
education
CTE stuff, and I really appreciated that. And I wish we would get back to that a little bit more. We used to have more community boards that advised the CTE programs, and I think some of those things, good things, have gone by the wayside, and we need to get those back, because if then the people in the community are invested in the school board, right? Yeah.
And I guess I'm bringing that up because
it's important.
I think that teachers, administrators, school board members, citizens, parents, there's a lot of folks involved here, and I want to give some credit where it's due. Jay Badams blew up Harding. My kids were going to Harding. As soon as he did, we're like, I'm out.
Right.
Like I did. I loved Harding. It drew people from all over. I talked to Jay. He didn't, why does Harding get special treatment? I'm like, you jackass. It's succeeding.
It's succeeding.
Why blowing up something that's succeeding? Instead, how do we take some of the variables there and replicate them at other schools? So
right.
I had a real issue with that. But Jay and then Brian were dealt a complete shit sandwich financially.
It was a
fiasco. They did the hardest thing you had to do, which is you were never going to please anyone by closing schools and consolidating schools and reconfiguring it. And I get some people say, it was really done poorly. Well, hardest thing in the world. They had to save the financial, to Dan's credit, Laughlin stepped in and helped get some financial support, and the financial side of the equation is better.
Right.
But there's 10 plus years of students that paid the price, and
very much so.
We have to just acknowledge,
we had some good models that we strayed from. We had the K-8 model because we were kind of trying to, I don't know if we were trying to mimic what we were doing in the parochial schools, but we saw that model was one that parents liked. Parents like to know that all my children are going to be in the same school. I got a drop off, I got a pick up. What we realized, though, is that we couldn't offer our middle school kids what they really truly deserved in a K-8 setting. But again, why can't we have different models? Why does everything have to be homogenized? Why do we all have to? I guess sometimes I feel like we should be thinking out of the box a little bit more. I would agree with you that was a huge blow when Jay told everybody had to go back to their home schools.
I saw uber Catholics. The first day I dropped my kids off for kindergarten at Harding, the parents that I saw who were uber Catholics and were attorneys in town and physicians, and they were driving across town to take their kids to Harding, and they were 10x the Catholic that I was. I could not believe it.
Yeah.
And it was all about the education.
It was all about the education.
They were like, this is the best school in the area. That's why we're sending our kids here. What a testimonial. And so, again, I like what you just said, though. Like, maybe there is some more experimenting, or maybe there's some things that would work in a particular school because of the dynamics of when you're going to the neighborhood school. hey, what will work best in this environment that may be different than another environment?
And you hit on it, neighborhood school. And that's something that we're losing. We're losing the neighborhood school. I'm going to be anxious to see the success of the students at Edison. Now that they have this new building, it just has to give you a little lift in your walk, right? You know, it's going to be interesting to see what plays out over there now that they have that. And I'm not saying that, you know, the building makes a school, but having all the resources, having a nice warm place to go to that doesn't have a roof leaking, or, you know, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. The one thing I do want to circle back with you, though, and I think it's something that the community doesn't realize, is that because of the PSSA testing, we have to test all students. And so we have a high special education population.
I remember hearing that in the past.
We have a very high special education population, and any teacher, special education teacher that might be listening to this or happen upon this podcast is going to be shaking their heads going, yeah, tell me about it. Trying to give or administer a PASA test to a student that has a learning disability, and they must take the test that is on their age appropriate level, is insanity.
Well, let me ask you this then.
You're reading on a first grade level, and you have to take a fourth grade reading test?
So can the school district, does the school district have the ability to kind of adjust what the performance, like you're going to have your raw scores, you know, as far as performance, are you able to kind of pull those special ed student scores out of the equation to get a more realistic
We're not able to extrapolate those scores out when we present them to the public. So when you see,
so the performance could be better.
100%.
If we which to me is exceptionally important. Mm-hmm. So we're not getting an accurate picture.
You're
because
not getting an accurate picture.
I would say, what would you say? It's 2x the other school districts. I mean, do it. I'm talking about the special ed population.
Right. I honestly wouldn't know those
That's
numbers.
very interesting.
But I would say that, 2x, I would agree with that. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
It's got to be public information, correct?
Mm-hmm. It has to be.
So you can't report it out, but someone could request the information and adjust to say this is what a more accurate perception of the performance of the Erie School District.
Of the Erie School District.
I think that would be that's something that an AI wizard, hopefully someone listening could say, I'll take that project on.
I'll take that project on.
Because that's more fair representation.
It is. It is.
More fair representation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to be mindful of your time and the listeners' time. I could obviously keep going, you know.
I love this.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So what do you think the biggest challenge is today for we talked about, is violence an issue in schools? Drugs and alcohol, you know, they've been around forever. Do you think it's the schools have a tendency to be more? I guess the inputs that I've received is that schools are more violent today than they were 20 years ago. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I don't know if it's accurate or not. We certainly have had more mass shootings in our schools than.
Thankfully, not here.
Not here. And that's a beautiful thing. Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. I hear a lot about kids being bullied. I think bullying has always gone on, but the fights that I see young children in our district engaging in are pretty brutal. Mm-hmm. They're very physical. That's a concern. I think when you guys were younger, you know, you probably had a few slugs here or there, and then it was over, you know. You weren't fighting. You were fighting maybe just to settle an argument, blow off some steam, but you weren't fighting to actually physically injure somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
And is it what they're exposed to?
Oh, there's a lot of stimulus. Yeah, a lot of visuals that are coming at them, kind of making. Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I don't know it. Yeah, but it's very much a concern. Is there more violence in the home?
Sure. Look, the economics are real, right? And the household income in the city of Erie is markedly lower than it is in others. The single-parent households, the kind of the non-nuclear family universe of people that are living there, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. There's a lot of variables, and I think in that kind of environment, it can foster angry kids.
Yes.
And they're frustrated, and they don't even know why. And but taking it out on someone else,
right?
That's a way to get it out.
Yeah. So
it's the biggest issue that we face. I mean, what made us the greatest country in the world was commitment to public education for everyone.
Yes.
And you know what? While there's a debate going on about college and its value, to me, as Americans, one of the biggest things that we have to do is it doesn't excuse and will never excuse us from the K through 12 educational system. The foundation it's just wickedly important to our
It's incredibly important to our society.
To our society, 100%.
So yes, all we can do is hope, and then just to keep advocating. So I'm still looking to actively recruit people to run for school board, trying to look for good candidates. I will continue to do that. Jim and I made that commitment to stay in the city of Erie. We don't like what we pay in taxes, but we don't mind because we're supporting the city that we love. So yeah, I'll keep doing that as much as I possibly can. I keep my eye on it too. I called my friend the other day and I said, will you sit with me at the school board meeting if I got to go talk about this budget? Because that's near and dear to my heart. I feel that I did a lot to push us out of Financial Watch. I felt like I was an integral part of the board and one of the members that was really pushing other board members to understand the whole entire picture, and that you don't want to raise taxes, but you have no choice. We have to raise taxes, and not 7% one year because we haven't for 7 years, but just, incrementally we need to raise taxes. And it's a bad word, but you've got to do it because education is important to our community.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So.
Well, let's shift, and I would say so. I had 5 items that I gave you: the foiled drone attack at the UFC event, the midterm election prognosis, the Trust Hotel in Erie, SpaceX, and the World Cup. And you, I think, said
I said B or C.
B or C.
Yeah. B or C.
So let's talk about the midterm election prognosis.
Okay.
What is your prognosis?
It's a crapshoot. I don't have a lot of confidence. I don't have a lot of confidence that we are going to be able to defeat this machine. I'm concerned.
You're speaking as a Democrat.
I'm speaking as a Democrat. I just hope people my age have shifted their thinking a little bit. I've always been a moderate. I'm not really a liberal Democrat. I kind of consider myself like Kathy Dahlkemper was in Congress, like a blue dog. I sit right down the middle. I don't know. I'm kind of frightened. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we are going to take back. I don't think we'll take back the Senate, but if we can take back the House, and it is so important, Jake, because I'm worried about what's happening to our free press. Very concerned. So I still think it's a coin toss. What do you think? Where are you?
I'm with you. I think that the make this clear. I hate the two-party system.
I do too.
I've been a registered R for 20 years. I've been a registered D for 20 years. I can't stand that. I have to choose one of these tribes to be a part of. I won't, but I like to vote in primary. So, anyways, I think that the assumption by the Democrats that all of this just disastrous mess and outrage at this overt behavior will be, that everyone will come out and vote make a groundswell change. I think that's naive.
I do too.
The message that it seems like well, we're voting against Trump and we're voting against that's what we're voting against, and everyone agrees with us. That is a recipe for disaster.
It is.
That's how you lose. You got to stand for something. You got to have a platform that this is what what matters, and it's got to be tight. And I feel as though that the Democratic. I love a close race. I like sporting events that are close.
Me too.
And I will watch a game that I'm not interested in. I'll go from cheering from one team to then they'll be down and I'll be like, okay, now get back in the game. And that's kind of the way I look at this. And I just look at the manner in which the Democratic parties, they're relying on the fact that, do you know how much crazy shit President Trump has done? It's wild.
It is.
It is wild.
It is wild.
One of those things in the past would get you bonked over the head and out. He's done 50 of them.
Right.
So the idea that there's, this is the straw, that's it. Like the biggest bugaboo of all to me, the Epstein files. What?
Oh.
What? Like, people keep relying on that. Like, that's going to turn the tide.
It's
no,
not.
it's not.
It's
they
not.
don't give a shit. Okay,
The Access Hollywood,
that's right.
tape didn't.
Wealthy, privileged, elite people have done crazy sex things. Ooh.
Right.
Like, that's never been gone. That's been going on since the Romans.
Right.
Like, I can't comprehend. It's like, unless you get a video footage that could, in this day and age, be completely debunked as saying that's a fake footage, it's AI, it's a dumb, but we're resting on that. People keep coming back to them. Like, you're out of your minds. Terrible things were done.
Right.
People who did shitty things, criminally prosecute them. But that's not a strategy.
No, it's not a strategy, and we don't have a strategy, the Democratic Party right now. And I'm very concerned. And again, it goes back to that middle of the road, kind of seeing both sides. I think that needs to be the message of our party. We really do need to branch out. We cannot be going to one extreme.
Yeah,
we're going to lose. So. But let's talk a tiny bit about the Trust Building. Are you excited?
Go.
I am so excited. My girlfriend Patty and I said when it opens, we're going to rent a room on one of the top floors.
I love it.
Just for shits and giggles. But I don't know if you remember, my mom worked there. She
really?
She was a teller at First National Bank. So I've always been enamored by that building.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated with the naysayers who are saying, why are we spending all this money? Why are we spending all this money? This money should be spent on this. It should be spent on that. And
it's just not that much. There isn't that much, quote unquote, public money in this deal. This is a private sector
That's what I keep saying. Do you understand? This is private. This is a private person coming in and investing in Erie. This is so exciting.
Yeah. It will be I think it's going to take a while.
It will.
Because it's an old building that's fragile, and it's on the historic register, and it's going to take resources, and I hope that the budget is accurate, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to need additional funds to get it done and done the right way. But it is, I'm excited to see it. I worked in that building for 2 or 3 years.
Did you?
My office was right above the peanut shop.
Oh,
so
love the peanut shop.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an iconic building.
Right?
To me, it's the most, one of the most important buildings to rehabilitate in downtown Erie because it's our skyscraper.
I agree 100%. It needs to be rehabilitated. I'm glad it's on the historic register. I did look a little bit at the agenda for city council coming up, and I think there's several other buildings that they're going to be putting on the historic register, one of them being East Erie Turners.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The owner, developer, Christian Symbiota is, and I apologies, Christian, if I got your name wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. He is a fantastic guy. And, he's bought, you probably saw, he bought the Key Bank building, he bought the Palace building, and he's leasing the Gannon building. So he's vested.
Yes.
And I will give you one caveat. I'm pretty sure he said that part of why he selected Erie is because he believed in everything that was being done with Erie Insurance and the investments and the vibe that he was getting from the community leaders when he came here. He said at the same time he was looking at the we'll call it the Trust Building, in Erie. He was looking at a similar property in Los Angeles.
Interesting.
And very similar size, kind of architecture, footprint, etc. And the building in Erie he got for $3 million, and the building in L.A. at the time it was $68 million. So it's a little better deal.
I think you got a better deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Deal yourself some cards, and then I'll read you the questions that will determine your fate.
Jeepers. I did go through some of them. I'm like, oh, please don't.
Yeah, you
pick
can
that
always
card.
pass. You can always pass.
All right, let's see what we got here. 2 of hearts.
2 of hearts. If you knew you could not fail, what would you attempt?
If I knew I could not fail. Skydiving.
That is a very bold answer. Do you know why?
Why?
Because there was a plane crash just the other day with 12 skydivers going up, like as they were going up, not while they were skydiving. So I thought, I'm like, she's going to say skydiving.
I didn't even know about that accident, but yeah. That'd be something I would really like to do.
I almost did it and I bailed.
Did you?
Yeah. It was a tandem jump.
I'm
I
afraid
wasn't.
of heights too. So
Same
yeah.
here. Same here.
Even going over a long bridge is stressful.
But anyone who's done it has spoken glowingly of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my niece did it with Jim's brother. Yeah, they loved it.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do that in 2027, 2026.
We'll see.
You just got to go down, I think, Grove City.
Is that? Yeah, you're right. It is Grove City. That's
Grove
where they
Ci-
went.
Yeah.
That's where they went.
I think you and Jim, you got a free weekend. Zip down there. Don't think twice about it. Sign up. Go. Bam. Be done.
We'll see. I need that guarantee, Jake.
All right.
All right. 7 of spades.
All right. This should be a fun one. I have no idea what it is,
Okay.
actually. Let's see here. Okay. This is fun. Name up to 5 people that would be at your dream dinner party.
Huh.
Up to 5. If you just want to do
5.
2, you can do that.
Okay. Let's see. Well, she's not here anymore, so I can't say her.
Go ahead. Name them.
I would love to have met Mother Teresa.
Okay.
I would love to meet Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Watch, these are all going to be women. No, maybe
Not surprising.
No. I would love to meet Stephen Colbert. I think he's hilarious. I really enjoy his show. I miss his show.
You're putting together an intriguing table.
I am.
Yeah, round it out with 2 others. I'd love
2
to.
others. Gosh, I didn't see this question. I'd have been prepared for it.
I'd love to I'd love to hear the questions that Colbert would ask Mother Teresa.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. You know what? Let's put somebody local at this table. Let's go back to my Benedictine roots. Let's put Sister Joan Chittister at this table.
It's just, yeah.
And then the Dalai Lama.
Damn. There's a pretty powerful spiritual table there.
That is.
That's
Okay.
that's a winner.
And Steve is just there for brevity. You know, he's going to keep us.
Yeah, he'll contribute, but he'll.
Yeah. All right, here we go. 10 of spades.
All right. Let's see here. It was just there. How did I miss this up? Wait, sorry.
You're right there.
There it is. It's right in front
All
of
right,
me.
right in front of you.
All right. Favorite sport to play?
Basketball.
Favorite sport to watch?
Basketball.
Favorite player?
Walt the Clyde Frazier.
Oh. Are you a Knicks fan?
I'm a huge Knicks fan.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
yeah.
got to be.
Oh, it was tremendous.
Did you stay up? Be honest. Oh, you didn't, did you?
I didn't stay up. I stayed up for every other game. And in the third quarter, we were down by 15. And I said, you know what? We've put too much energy into the last game.
We're going to gas out.
I haven't been sleeping well. I'm going to try to go to bed.
Well, you
know
did
what?
have-
And
yeah.
I'm like, I just had
You
knee
had knee
replacement
yeah.
surgery. And I said, I probably won't sleep. I'll just wake up and I'll just catch the fourth quarter. I actually fell asleep. First thing I did when I woke up was grab my phone. I was going to check the score, and there was a text from our son, Matt, saying, Mom, I hope you stayed up. Congratulations.
Oh.
So at least I knew we won, but I was like, dang.
So did you get like a bolt of just adrenaline and excitement?
Oh, I was excited, yeah. Because, I mean, that's why I grabbed my phone. I was just going to Google the score.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm a sports fan, and I went to bed because it was like I'm looking at the score on my phone, and I'm like, they're down 15, and there's 8 minutes to go. Or it might even been more. It might have been close to 18. I'm like, there's 8 minutes to go in the game. I'm like, and then I looked and I went, I'll be damned. And then I was sick. I had total FOMO.
Yes, I did too. I had FOMO.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I was really upset. Yep. But we won.
If you're a sports fan, I mean, and I am on so many fronts, but I just love that. From the moment, just before that series started, I said to people, I'm like, when the game is played at the Garden, it is going to be electric. And that was before the series started.
Yeah.
But then the first game in San Antonio, when I was there, I kept saying, as I'm watching it, I kept saying to Jordan and my stepson, I'm like, do you hear how many Knicks fans are at San Antonio?
Yeah.
It is. They did not appreciate where I was. I'm like, you're never going to hear fans like that at the Garden for the Celtics. You'll never hear that many people cheer, or at an LA game.
Well, even the Cavs game.
Right.
They were there.
Yes. Amazing.
Well, people like me who have been fans since 1968,
Well, congratulations. I think that's a wonderful way to finish.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you and your Knicks, but I just want to say thank you. I really admire the fact that you stayed committed to what you believed in, and you didn't just stay committed. You got involved. You got involved as a teacher, and you got involved as an elected official. You've gotten involved in changing kids' lives as a coach.
Yep.
And you raised an amazing family along the way.
Can I give a little plug here?
Sure.
Katie's band is playing at 8 Great Tuesdays.
Oh, when?
On July 7th. They're opening for the Clarks.
July 7th.
July 7th, 6:30.
Katie
Feeney, Roberta Faceplant.
That's the Roberta Faceplant is the band. July 7th. Please go out and support
a local girl.
Girl and her band before the Clarks. What a great night that will be.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So excited.
Thanks so much
for having me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. Take care.